How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to TheBlueShifting, and welcome back to Higurashi When They Cry, Chapter 2. So, I think we're going on a date with Shion, which will be really interesting. Basically, last time we had a good glimpse into kind of like this idea of the debate between the two, and then while Keiichi went to go back to the restaurant, accidentally knocked over some bikes that belonged to some out-of-towners. They got up in his face, started threatening him. Shion came out to defend him, and then a bunch of people from Hinamizawa surrounded them and all became really threatening, really leaning into the cultish side of things, right? So that was interesting. But then at the end, Shion called and talked about like wanting to get together and doing stuff together the next day with like I think like some kind of like a dessert tasting contest and afterwards going out shopping or something. Something like that sounds great. So it should be a pretty positive episode as far as we're concerned, right? It'd be really interesting to see it. I'm curious to see how it's all going to play out, but I'm excited. So yeah, we keep having the rumblings and the stuff is kind of starting to like peel back a bit and show the creepiness and like the fear and horror to come. So, oh boy. All right, let's move on. Let's see how this goes. I knew it wouldn't be doing any club activities after school today before Mion even said anything. I'd been invited over by Shion for all-you-can-eat dessert. I made a point of leaving half my lunch uneaten. Expectations would only be rivaled by my hunger.
Keiichi-kun, 今日はなんだか嬉しそうだね。いいことあるのかな?
Yeah, we're not gonna do anything with you, so... Hey! No, it's fine, Rita. I guess it was obvious. Rita had questioned me with a happy look. That's right. Why don't I invite Rena for dessert as well? No, if I recall correctly, Shion said something about having a ticket. At worst, the restaurant might be admitting by ticket only today. If that was the case, then having Rena be turned away at the door would result in the worst feeling ever.
ちょっとしたラッキーでさ、明日報告してやるよ。レナン、きっと羨ましがるぜ。
なんだろう。いいの。
She's already jealous. She's just jealous we have like a treat. Like that we have a secret. Cute. Wonder what Rena would think of the uniforms that Angel wore. They'd definitely be a critical hit.
多分、かなり可愛いかも。
いいの。何かな
Nope. Sorry, Rena.
へえ、どんな幸運に恵まれたのやら。あれ？ひょっとして2月くらい前にエンジェルモードで三角くじとか引いた？それに当たった？
おいおい、俺は2月前にはまだ転校してきてないぞ。
ああ、そっか。じゃあエンジェルのデザートフェスタでもないし。
みーちゃん、エンジェルのデザートフェスタって何かな？
ほら、沖宮の駅前の正面にエンジェルモートっていうファミレスがあるじゃない？
I think she's calling it a family restaurant. I don't know if you describe it as that. It's a cosplay restaurant.
あそこではね、季節の変わり目に新デザートのお披露目イベントをやるんだよ。それが今日でね。あ、言っても無駄だよ。くじ当選者以外は入店できない貸し切りデーだから。
Mion explained once again what Shion explained to me last night.
レナも今度からお店に通ってみよう。頑張ってくじを当てて、次のデザート食べ放題を狙うの。
Yeah, I'm sure.
頑張れ。ちなみに聞いた話だと、当選くじはマニア垂涎のプラチナチケットで、闇では高値で取引されてるなんて噂が。
Why would you say that? Hearing that story, I felt even more appreciative of the ticket that Shion had procured for me. I just thought I was lucky to be able to eat desserts for free, but as it turned out, that ticket was much more valuable. The number of things that I had to thank Shion for had increased again.
ありがとな。そんなに価値があるものなんて、俺、全然知らなくて。
I clicked early. I whispered in a voice only Mion could hear. That was how I conveyed my feelings. Mion looked at me for a moment before she tilted her head to the side and smiled confusedly.
何？なんか言った？
It would be a problem if you said something to me right now. That smile seemed to be telling me as much. I guess Mion wouldn't be accepting any gratitude while she was Mion. I'll go to the restaurant. Today I'll thank Mion when she's Shion.
じゃ、おじさんはこの辺で失礼するわ。
Bye, Mion.
今日のバイトはちょっとハードなんだよな。じゃあね。
It's gonna be rough, huh? Mion waved her hand energetically as she left.
ねえ、ケイチくん。なんだかみーちゃん、最近変なの。
Yeah. Wait, but you're saying weirder than normal?
浮かれてるっていうか、嬉しそうっていうか。
Yeah, it's depressing me, man. Every time we have these moments, I just keep having in the back of my head, it's like, but you know what's gonna happen, you know what's coming. It's like,
そうなのか?
Rena was pretty sharp when it came to these types of things. To me, Mion seemed the same as always, but Rena apparently felt something different.
ケイチ君は知らないのかな、てっきり知ってるのかなって思って。
Rena's skirt fluttered as she spun around with a coy smile.
知ってるって、俺が、何を?
I was obviously weaseling my way out of the question, but I wasn't lying. Honestly, I didn't really know what was going on. What did Shion, a persona of Mion that she'd created, appear before me? Something was blatantly up, but Rena paid it no heed.
そっか。じゃあ何なんだろうね。
Uh-huh.
でも、みーちゃんが機嫌いいと、レナも嬉しいよ。
Okay.
はう。
Uh-huh. Saying that, she spread her arms wide and spun around happily. I didn't know why, but Rena was in a really good mood. It was so infectious, I had to smile too. Even the chirping of the cicada seemed joyful.
でもね。
Oh. Music gone? The Higurashi crying in the background? What is this gonna do? Are we gonna see a glimpse of the demon? Rena abruptly stopped spinning, her expression returned to a more somber one.
みーちゃんね。つい最近ね。すごく傷つけられたの。
Why?
傷つけって、え?
The pain that Rena was talking about probably wasn't physical.
はじめは、あまり気にしてないふりをしてたけど、怪我と同じ。だんだん腫れてきた。じんじん腫れてきた。
What is happening?
とうとう痛みがこらえられなくなって、夜中に目を覚ました。
What?
そして、レナに電話してきたの。
Oh.
みーちゃんは泣いてた。
Oh gosh.
ごめん。それ、何の話だよ。
何の話？レナは今、何か話をしてたのかな？
おい、そんなとぼけ方するなよ。今、レナは。
知らない。
Okay. But then why say that? What's going on?
レナは何も知らないよ。
What are you talking about?
あう。
Then Rena spun as she laughed innocently. Eventually she appeared to get sick, stumbling as she steadied herself with her hand against the wall.
はう。目が回って。
バカだな。調子に乗ってぐるぐる回ってるからだよ。
ごめん。はあ、気持ち悪いかも。
I lend the ditz a shoulder to lean on. To be stumbling around like a newborn fowl at this age is actually quite the feat. Rena, in a good mood, only babbled incoherently after that. I laughed as I responded to and chided her. However, the chance to revisit this heavy topic Rena had brought up before never arrived. So, like, my suspicion is that she likes us, but she knows that we don't have that reciprocal feeling. And I almost wonder, too, like, how recent was that call? Because the call was, like, yesterday. Remember, like, question that she asked us? She's like, if you had to pick between me, Shion, or Mion, and if we were both about to fall, who would you pick? And, like, we kind of, like, inadvertently said Shion. And, like, Mion, that probably hurt Mion. And I went, maybe that was the call? Like, that would be my guess. As soon as I got home, I tossed aside my school bag and changed in a hurry. The effects of only having a light lunch were starting to show, as my stomach began to let out fickle growls. All right, let's go to Angel Mort. The time to face the land of endless desert. Preparations for battle are complete. Tally ho! There we are. Angel Mort had a decidedly different feel to it compared to yesterday. Dessert festa today. Admittance by reservation only. Nonetheless, in front of the store was beginning to swarmed over by dozens of young men. Judging by how they were looking upward and jealously instead of entering the store, they weren't invitees. Why would they gather here if they knew they couldn't get in? I found out the answer when I passed through the crowd and began to climb the steps to enter the restaurant.
あんた当選者なのか？チケットを持ってるのか？
まあな。ラッキーだったんだ。
As soon as I said that, I was immediately mobbed. It was like being in the middle of a football scrum on a crowded train. What's going on? The reason was this. It wasn't just one ticket per person. One ticket could let up 4 people inside.
そうだったのか。
Oh, oops.
ますますレナや他のみんなを誘ってやるべきだった。親切にありがとう。でも今の話は聞かなかったことにするよ。
Thanks for telling me, but I'm not gonna let you in. With an uplifting smile, I turned to ignore them. When I did, their arms all reached out at once, like the souls of the damned seeking succor.
その4名様までのお供に、ぜひ俺たちを。
What selfish people. This was the only reason they were crowded in front of the restaurant. Dozens of wretched arms reaching out to me like teeth of a giant rake and gasping at the air. I was already climbing the stairs to the entrance.
なんて身軽なやつ。取り押さえろ。
This isn't something to joke about. I flew up the rest of the stairs and threw myself inside the restaurant. It was like I'd entered a different world. A miserable throng of the damned hurled curses at me from the other side of the glass door. But inside of the completely soundproofed and air-conditioned restaurant, with the angelic smile of a waitress to welcome me, there was nothing more than a refreshing piece of scenery. I knew that I shouldn't laugh, but I began to let out a sinister cackle.
いらっしゃいませ。エンジェルモートへ。本日はデザートフェスタにつき、チケットのお客様のみの貸し切りになっております。チケットとご方面をお伺いしてもよろしいでしょうか。
チケットはないけど、名簿に名前があると思います。前原です。
前原、あった。失礼ですが、フルネームでお伺いしてよろしいですか。
圭一です。前原圭一。
大変失礼いたしました。特別招待の前原圭一様ですね。
Yes, yes.
お席へご案内いたします。どうぞこちらへ。
So he couldn't have brought people in anyway. Because it's special occasion, he probably doesn't have the pass for 4. The mood inside the room was incredibly heated. The booths were packed to the brim. Men in their prime were stuffing their face with dainty desserts that didn't suit them at all. It was a rather unnerving spectacle. Soon after I was shown in my seat, Shion arrived.
いらっしゃいませ。ようこそエンジェルモーターへ。
よーしよ。今日は本当にありがとうな。世話になりに来たぜ。
ちょっと遅かったから心配しました。でも来てくれて嬉しいです。
It may have been because the other customers around her tone were less casual, but she still capped off that welcome with her usual brilliant smile.
見ての通り、今日はお客さんがすっごいんで、定時に抜けさせてもらえるかちょっと自信がないんです。私の仕事が終わるまでのんびりしててくださいね。終わったら一緒に遊びに行きましょうね。
Yeah, yeah. Whispering just that last part in my ear, Shion winked and returned to the kitchen. Dang. Bro doesn't even know how good he's got it. Maybe that was because the mood in the restaurant was so heated, but Shion seemed a bit bolder. Even a small change in her mannerism was enough to set my heart aflutter.
お待たせしました。
While I was overwhelmed with the atmosphere inside the restaurant, orders from the new summer menu were carried out one after another. Every single one was extravagantly huge. Oh no. I get it. You can eat all these amazing things for free. No wonder the ticket was worth its weight in gold. On top of that, it was all plenty delicious. From dishes that were general appeal to insane ones aimed at a specific audience, there were absolutely no gaps in their repertoire.
どう考えても一人で食う量じゃないかもしれないな。
I'd be so dead. I don't eat very much, so I'd be absolutely just buried under it all.
まあそれは置いておいて。
Yeah, it didn't feel relaxing in here at all. Probably because the fervor inside the restaurant was clearly abnormal. All the other booths' seats were crammed with groups of 4. Sleazy men were gorging like pigs on cutely decorated desserts, and it wouldn't have been a surprise if they started licking the plates. It was more than a little unsettling. It piqued my interest, so I started listening in on the conversations and what things I heard. Oh gosh. I get enough of this from Chaos Head. I don't need any more.
僕ですか。当選チケットは秘密ルートから7万で購入したつ。
Oh my gosh.
職場には親戚の葬式だと言ったにゃりんよ。
Oh my god, that nasally voice.
エンジェルは制服が最高にゃり。
See, that's the thing. It's weird because I'm definitely like the target audience. Even when I was like in school, like in high school, I was definitely like nerd as can be, geek as can be. But at the same time, it's like I could be a social person. I don't know. It's like I just don't get it. I don't get what, like, I get the tropiness of it, but it reflects the real aspects of people, and I understand it's not as easy just like, oh, just go outside and like make friends and stuff. But at the same time, it's like You can be a reclusive, introverted, like geek who loves anime and like comic books and Star Wars and all that stuff, like, and more too, like a D&D, everything. Like I've done it all and enjoy it all still to this day. But even then, when I was the most socially awkward I've ever been in my life, it was never this. It was never this, like, I don't know. Like, it feels like isolationist almost. Like it's like you just live in this little world of fantasy and you pretend the rest of the world doesn't exist. And again, I think it's hyped up for a lot of these stories to be like over the top, but that reflects something that must be true. And I also do know that I've seen other people who are a lot more like in the zone, you could say. I just don't know why. Because if I could function in a society, get jobs, have a girlfriend, get like all that stuff, like if I could do that, I don't see why anybody can't. Like it just, I don't know. But then again, everyone has their own struggles, and sometimes people have their own crosses to bear and stuff. So there's it just because my experience wasn't that doesn't mean it doesn't exist, clearly. But it's one of those things where it's like, I really want to sympathize, but it's also like, man, sometimes you see it presented like this and it's just like, why? I understand though, absolutely. Taking off work to go do something like this, absolutely. What's funny though is like, you shouldn't have to pretend it's not for a personal thing. Like, why can't you just have a personal day? Maybe in Japan though, their work culture is a lot more insane. Like the expectations, like from what I get, like from osmosis from like overseas, obviously, but based on the culture I've come to understand, you get days off. You could take days off for being sick or personal days, but like it looks poorly on you. So maybe that's the reason why you would fake that it was a funeral or something, because it wouldn't make you look bad, which is sad.
ウェイトレスさん、水とかズボンにこぼしてふきふきとかしてくれないかにゃ。
But see, that's the stuff that I'm like, I don't understand how anybody would actually try that, because that's just horrifying and like, why?
にゃーにゃー。
Please don't be a real person.
エンジェルモートのフィギュアが今度発売されるらしいでござるな。
Maybe, I doubt it. I doubt that would be a successful business.
次のイベントは要注意でござる。
そうそう。今度大手フィギュアメーカーが商品化を決めたそうであります。発売日は要チェックなのであります。
しかし大人買いするには種類が多すぎるのでごわすな。普通のファミレス制服のフィギュアなら10種類程度でごわすのに、今度のはシークレットポーズ差分込みでざっと100種類。
Jeez, that's insane. Secret sets with different poses. Like, I could see that being real, but that feels like crazy. It's like taking like figures and making them trading cards.
ダブった時は誰かトレードしてもらいたいでおじゃる。ファンとしては即日コンプは義務。いや、君と僕とのディスティニーでおじゃるよ。
The words spilling out of their mouths are pretty much all incomprehensible jargon, but they still keenly conveyed that hidden behind them as was it. But still, they still keenly conveyed that hidden behind them was an invisible aura of abnormality. Invisible? It's not invisible.
お待たせしました。次のデザートは南国風シナモンのアバンチュールでございます。
Tropical cinnamon love affair.
どうかなさいましたか？
あ、いえ、なんかこう、今日の店内は雰囲気が違うなと。
うちのお店、その道の方々にはかなり有名らしいんです。
It's interesting in the creatures circles.
まあ、そういう狙いのお店ですからいいんですけどね。
Hmm.
でもイベントの日のお客様はちょっと濃いめの方が多いんで困っちゃいます。
I'm sure. The waitress informed me quietly with a wry smile.
なんかお客の人たちも血走っててハイエナみたいですよね。
Yeah, that's the way to put it.
今日のお客さんのほとんどはかなり遠方から無理してきてるみたいですからね。そういう方々ってハメを外しやすいんでちょっと怖いんです。
Yeah.
ちゃんとガードを固めておかないと大変なんですから。
We even heard them contemplating doing something crazy. What did she mean by keep your guard up? After that moment, a large crash resounded throughout the room. I turned around, startled to see a waitress had fallen down, spilled to the order she was carrying right into a customer. Wait, isn't that Shion?
すみませんでした。そのお召し物は、
なんてことするにゃり。もうジーンズ専門店で1800円もしたズボンが生クリームでベトベトにゃりよ。
Oh no. He's way too excited. What the heck is that? For somebody who just met with disaster, he seems awfully happy.
これはひどいですにょ。ウェイトレスさんが精神誠意ふきするしかないでござるにょ。
Oh, I'm gonna punch him in the face. The conversation suddenly veered into an odd direction. Hey, what did he say? Wipe. Did he want Shion to wipe him down? Right over that obviously aberrant tent that he had pitched over his crack. Oh my gosh, I didn't even realize what he was going for. Go! I want to die of embarrassment from a different reality. Oh.
でも、その、
ふき
The wipey chant quickly spread throughout the room. Totally concerned, Shion went pale. She looked over the more experienced waitress for help, but was only met with a head shaking out of pity.
園崎さん、足を引っ掛けられたんですね。ああやってわざと衣服を汚させて絡んでくるお客が最近多いんですよ。
Horrific. If that's even based on real events, that's horrifying.
足を引っ掛けてだって？じゃあ、今のあれも、事故じゃなくて、恋？
メインの女の子は十分気をつけてますから、絶対ああはならないんですけど、園崎さんは短期バイトだから、今日のお客様たちにも早々に見破られちゃったみたいで。
店長とかは何やってんだよ。あんな不良な客は追い出せよ。
We're in the service industry, so there's not much we can do about it. She laughed as she said that in a resigned tone. That's bullcrap! Shion trembled uncontrollably with a dishcloth in her hand as she turned bright red. The man who had been doused in frosting splayed out on the bench, putting an ice cream covered tent over his crotch on full display. Still mentally unprepared, her trembling hand inched forward, goaded on by onlookers.
さあさあさあ、ふきするでござるよ。
They're so horrific. From my male point of view, it might have been a ridiculous spectacle I could just smile wryly at, but from a woman's point of view, it was obviously pure humiliation. When I was tripped by those thugs and had been paralyzed with fear, Shion fearlessly stood up to them and saved me. Still, as humiliating as it was, Shion was also partly to blame for this. It wasn't as though her life was at stake, right? Hey, first of all, no. But that's the case for you too. You did kick over the bikes. That wasn't just like, they didn't just pick on you. You did actually do that. Second of all, your life probably wasn't at stake. Go save her. Even these guys, they were just going to jeer at her a bit in a lewd situation. It's not like they were going to eat Shion alive or anything. It'd be alright if I just could console her afterwards. No.
私だって怖かったですよ。でも、他ならぬケイちゃんのピンチだし。勇気出して頑張りましたってことです。
Come on! When I, as a man, was being assailed by 3 thugs and paralyzed with fear, Shion saved me without a second thought. What about now? These sleazy, filthy degenerates are trying to pin the blame on Shion. This time, our roles were reversed. Hey, Keiichi Maribara? If you don't save her now, when will you be able to repay the debt you owe her? You scared, Keiichi Maribara? At the time, Shion, no Mion, didn't even show a hint of hesitation. Then what about now? I'm not hesitating. Then what? If you're not hesitating, then what are you? Why aren't you helping her?
さあ、観念するでござる。
やかましいぞ、重量オーバー。俺の目が黒いうちに出て失せろ。
Grabbed Shion's shoulder firmly and pulled her behind me.
ケイちゃん。
そのスタッフが世のオズボンに粗相したのでござるよ。
お仕置きが必要なのはてめえの方だ。男なら能書き吐くな。腕で物を言ってみろ。
Oh my gosh, okay, yeah, let's go. You know, honestly, he's probably bigger than you, but you probably could beat him up. Thud smash. My body was lifted into the air like nothing. I was thrown right back into my own seat. The guy is strong. Oh, fetch. No matter how you look at it, athletic or this Lardo ain't even the same area code.
ふふふ。オタクは意外にマイナーな武道を得得していることが多いでござるから、
Okay.
甘く見ると大変でござるよ。
Alright. Shows what I know. The man smirks, showing off his gum line.
ケイちゃん、大丈夫？
Damn, how lame must I look right now?
シオンは足を引っ掛けられたんだろう。向こうが悪いんだから突き上がらせることなんかないぞ。
そうだけど、でもやっぱり悪いのは私だし。
For what? Falling prey to their antics?
もう一度だ。行くぞー。
Snap, thud, crash.
これくらいでへこたれるケイチ様だと。もう一度だ。
Back, snap, thunk.
お口ほどにもないでござるの。
まだまだ。
Right, it's my will to fight. Not just running, I plant every one of my steps as firmly as I close the distance to the lard ball. Each time I ripped my foot off the floor, I could feel my burning spirit flare up from the point of impact. Everything slowed down like I was walking underwater. As I stepped forward in that vicious flow of time, I calmly measured the gap between us. With our difference in height, reach was my ultimate advantage. There was even ever so slight distance between us where only my punch would be able to reach. Oh, so we're taller than him. I unleashed my iron fist of righteous anger, but it flew toward his face slowly like I was a punch underwater. Reacting to that, with a smirk on his face, the fat so easily slipped inside my punch. I hadn't realized it until now, but this mired time, I was able to observe his baffling counterattack with almost painful clarity. His arm slowly swung around in a large windmill motion, wrapping around my whiffed punch, and descending in an arc. That my arm swung around like the arms of a clock, and it came right in contact with my head, twisting my upper body around. Dragging my head along, he followed through with another rotation. This time he rotated his entire body like a top, followed by another rotation. This dude's fighting like a Beyblade! Combined defense and offense, it was a brilliant count. No, it's not! That's right, 3 times. I was thrown about three rotations, I think. In this vicious region of time, I was unable to struggle. I could only watch dumbstruck until the moment I was thrown. The moment I was, that sluggish temporal anomaly abruptly ended. Crash.
修行が足りないでござるよ。ヤングメン。
I was loath to admit it, but against someone trained in martial arts, I couldn't win through force of will alone. Well, that was sad. After my consciousness faded in a wave of dizziness, when it came to, I was lying on my own seat.
怪我しなくてよかったですね。
The more experienced waitress from before wiped the sweat from my brow with a towel. While she was doing that, a red-faced and teary-eyed Shion trudged over.
大丈夫ですか？私なんかのために。すみませんでした。
俺こそ役に立たなくて、俺喧嘩って勝ったことないし。
Aww.
私のために助けに来てくれただけで嬉しかったです。本当ですよ。
I hope.
それだけでも今日はケイちゃんに来てもらえてよかったかなって。
Yeah, even though we didn't do anything. As she said that, she stuck out her tongue teasingly. She wiped off the whipped cream that was cream with the washcloth she was holding in her hands.
園崎さん、R 入ってもいいですよ。あと 1,2 時間でしょ？いいんです。バイトとはいえ、お給料もらってる身ですから、時間内はちゃんと働きたいんです。だから本当、お気遣いなく。
She couldn't even put up a brave front. I would never even think for a second that Mion could be that weak. This was Shion, and she had been harassed by some unreasonable riffraff. That was reality.
ケイちゃんは気にしないで、デザートいっぱい食べててくださいね。一通り食べ終わったら、アンケートを書いてもらいますので。じゃあ私、ホールに戻りますね。
That's sad. After consoling words and a sympathetic smile to Shion, the other waitress started to head back to work. That's where I stopped her.
すいません、上電話借りたいんですけど。
電話ですか？レジ横にございますよ。ご案内いたします。
I pulled the 10-yen coin from my wallet. This wasn't about saving face. My being a worthless coward was an unchangeable fact, but I could just cry myself to sleep about that later tonight. Now is not the time for tears. I had to fight.
確かチケット1枚で4人まで OK なんですよね。あと3人呼んでもいいんですよね。
ええ、そうですけど、
一応名簿に書きますので、お名前を伺ってもよろしいですか？
Who's he calling? I turned around and glared at the greasy hooligan who was subjecting Shion to that humiliation. Is it gonna be like the cops or something? Like, there are 3 things that aren't working in your favor today, punk. The first is I owe Shion. The second is that I'm a man who's not afraid to throw away his pride to win. And the third is that we're the most powerful club members in history. No.
名簿には竜宮レナ、それから北条聡子、古出理香で。
かしこまりました。承ります。
My best and most powerful club members join the fray. They can bring down 1,000 foes. You fat ass. Prepare to beat your maker! Oh, this is gonna get good.
いいお店だね。はう、制服かわいい。レナも着たい。はう。しかもデザートまでおごってもらえるなんて、僕は大感激なのです。
ああ、好きなだけ食ってくれ。俺の分なんか気にするな。
ケイイチさん、茶番は結構でございますのよ。要件に入ってほしいですわ。
Ren and Rika-chan put down their forks when Satoko broached the subject. After looking at them for a few moments, I pressed my forehead firmly to the table.
頼む。俺の不甲斐なさを笑ってもいい。力を貸してくれ。
The 3 of them seemed surprised by the sudden turn of events, but nevertheless listened to what I had to say without making fun of my unusual behavior.
どうしたのかな？何があったんだろう、太郎。
実は、ミオンの妹のシオンが、この店でバイト中なんだ。
I clicked away.
話に聞いてたみーちゃんの妹さんだね。ひょっとしてあれかな？あれかな？似てるね。似てるも何も髪を下ろしただけの本人ではありませんの？
Shh. Just don't think about it. I didn't know what to say.
ケイイチがシオンだと言うからシオンなのですよ。
Thank you, Rika.
いくら双子だってあんなにうり二つになるもんなんですの？一卵性ソーセージって言ってね、本当にそっくりの双子ってこともあるんだって。
Monozygotic twins? Like, that's just identical twins, right? Like, they share DNA. Rana gave the most plausible explanation, so everyone else was convinced.
納得してもらえたかな。それで、本題だ。
I recounted everything that just happened. How Shion was targeted, how she was antagonized by the customers, and the humiliation that was forced upon her. Also, how incredibly pathetic I was, including everything without trying to hide it.
それはひどいね。しーちゃんかわいそう。しかし、それを助けられないなんて、みっともないにも程がありますわよ。
Shut! You don't think I don't get that?
それについては、返す言葉がない。
さとこちゃん、負けを認めて助けを求めるのって、とっても難しいことなの。ケイイチくんは、変なプライドなんかより、しーちゃんを助けることを選んだんだよ。
That's very sweet of you, Rena.
情けないですこと。
Rena's follow-up stung a bit, but I can only be thankful that she understood. Satoko was calling me all sorts of names, but there's no malign intention behind her words.
で、僕たちは何をするですか？
Her voice was monotone, but there was a hint of resolve to her words. I replied to Rika-chan's suggestive silence with a kind of my own quiet resolve.
そんなところだと思ってましたわ。ケイイチさん一人には少々荷が重すぎますもの。
じゃあ、助けてくれるのか？
当然だよ、ケイイチくん。私たちは誰がいじめられても助けに行くよ。
Oh, baby. I remembered when I was cornered by the thugs what Shion had said about the strong feeling of solidarity in Hinamizawa really began to hit home. However, Keiichi Maribara. Now's not the time to get choked up with tears of gratitude. Now's the time to fight.
すまん、恩に切る。
一人で頑張ったけど、歯が立たなくてかわいそです。
Stop! Can we get past that? We've already talked about that. Rika-chan gently patted my head. But there was this was no mindless pity in the palm of her hand. It was overflowing with strong, dependable feeling of leave the rest to us.
もろもろの都合により、ミオンは参戦できないので、作戦内容はシオンの護衛と敵勢力の殲滅。
敵って誰かな？いっぱいいるのかな？
現時刻以降、 シオンにちょっかいを出そうとする全個人、交戦規定はなし。
There are no rules of engagement. No rules. Geneva Convention. Be damned. Throw it out.
報酬は今食ったデザート。質問はあるか？
Everybody had already entered the club mode, and their eyes were peering at the riffraff clamoring around inside the restaurant like predators stalking their prey from the darkness. I actually really love this. This is gonna be great. Rika-chan held up her hand.
なんだい、リカちゃん。
手加減は必要ですか？
No.
不要に決まってますわ。
But no, I think she's asking, like, can we, like, injure people?
ミオさんの妹に狼藉を働く輩に手加減なんか不要ですの。いいんですね、ケイチ。
Go for it. Rika-chan was serious. She was really ready to pretty much murder someone. I'm counting on you, Rika-chan. That's terrifying, actually, to imply.
全責任は俺、前原圭一が取る。
Oh. Like, if we didn't know what happens in the future, that wouldn't seem just all fun and games, but that's horrifying.
蹴散らしてやれ。
Oh no.
よーし、レナも頑張るぞ。
That's terrible.
すまん、よろしく頼む。
ケイチさん、そんなに力まなくても大丈夫ですのよ。まあ、ご覧あそばせ。ケイチさんがそのパフェを食べ終わる頃にはお掃除は終わってましたよ。ではみんな、頑張りましょうですよ。ファイト、おーです。
Ah. Ah! Thus, the most powerful warband the world had ever known, trained by Mion, began to move. Well, I was the oldest, the only boy, and behaved like a leader, but when you consider our club activities, I was by far the most junior member. Individually, everyone besides me had terrifying combat capabilities. If all of them combined their strength to protect Shion, I couldn't even imagine. I was probably about to witness something terrible and awe-inspiring.
園崎さん、7番テーブルにデラックスパフェを5つお願いします。
あ、はい。
Shion carried the order to the tables. For Shion to carry all 5 parfaits without wobbling took so much effort that she didn't have the breathing room to pay attention to her feet.
くっくっく、どうしよう、また来たでござるよ。
今度はミーのおズボンにぶっかけさせて、一層念入りにふきふきしてもらうにより。
It was the same wipey-wipey scheme that occurred just a short time earlier. This time, another one of them was trying it out for himself, and the very depravity of these men was itself a full-out attack. Go.
圭一よりレナへ。5、6番テーブル付近で待ち伏せだ。レナ、聞こえてるか？
お店の制服、
Oh.
かわいいね。
Oh no.
はう、
Wait.
お持ち帰り。
Wait. So she's in cute mode, which means she might not pay attention. She's not coordinated. She's basically a barbarian. She's like a barbarian in rage. It's like all you can do is point them in a direction and just hope. But the power, oh the power. Shion, her bottom swaying while carrying the parfait, was being chased by an equally swaying Rena. She was supposed to be escorting Shion, but Rena was instead transfixed by the back of her uniform. Gosh darn it, Rena. From a normal person's point of view, it's probably like having a fox guard the hen hound. But when it comes to Rena, things are different.
怪異状態。シンクロ率 120%。
Synchronization.
勝ったな。
It's over.
あの状態のレナさんには地球上のどんな物理法則も通用しませんわ。
Shion's legs, unsteady and defenseless, were being targeted by those sleaze bags.
今でござるよ。
世界の輝ける明星にして、
Oh my
偉大なる
gosh!
総統閣下万歳！
What the fetch is that? This guy's freaking terrifying. The legs shake out to trip Shion's defenseless feet. And again, it's 3 of them at once. Tap, tap, tap!
もう本当。
It happened in an instant. The 3 fools writhed in pain as their legs bent at unnatural angle. Fetch me!
これは何事でござるか。
Rena teetered into view and gave them a warning.
はう、おいたはダメなんだよ。目だよ、目。
No means no.
レナがお持ち帰りするから、
この小娘、神妙な技を。
The human scum clutched their bruised ankles as they passed out.
さすがはレナさん。いつ見ても恐ろしいキレですわね。
ああ、絶対的なガードだ。半径2メートル以内で行われるシオンへのあらゆる攻撃を、
Beautiful.
レナは完全なカウンターで粉砕する。
Beautiful. As Shion was making her rounds through the restaurant, there were people here and there collapsing with welts on their legs or hands.
はうレナよりケイチ君へ。もうしーちゃんにちょっかい出す人はいないよ。だからもうお持ち帰り。
No, no, no.
ケイチよりレナへ。ご苦労だった。引き続き護衛を続けてくれ。それからお持ち帰りは不可。繰り返す。お持ち帰りは不可。
Feels like a military
じゃあ
mission.
見てるだけだよ。見てるだけ。はう
I guess just looking is fine. That wouldn't prevent her from guarding Shion, so I guess it's okay. Anyway, thanks to this, I knew who tried to mess with Shion. Anybody who was clutching their arm or leg or writhing in agony was basically branded by their bruises.
現時刻をもって敵勢力識別を完了。次のフェーズへ移行する。ケイチよりサトコへ。そっちはどうなってる？
さとこですわよ。どうなってるとはひどい言い方でございますわね。
ねえねえねえ。
ケイチさん、私を誰だと思っておいでですの？
Satoko was in the kitchen. She had spread open a sketch of the restaurant on the counter, replete with ordered sheets of their designations, and was now sorting through the freshly made desserts. Oh, she's gonna spike them.
さっきから何をしてるの？まあまあ、園崎さん、いいから彼女に任せておいて。
How do they know?
それよりもこのオーダー全部一度に行くからお願いね。
The veteran waitresses were briskly detecting her juniors and directing her juniors as the trays went out one after another. All the desserts that had passed through Satoko's hands were delivered at once.
はう、かわいいデザートがいっぱい来たよ。はう。
分かってるだろうが、手をつけるなよ。自分の身が大事なら。
Yeah, no.
わかってるけど。
Certainly, they were all incredibly cute-looking desserts. They were all the work of art that you could enjoy before taking your first bite. However, since Satoko had meddled with them, there was nothing more than an unpredictable danger. Blissfully ignorant of the fact that the men were now stuffing their faces. Almost right away, they realized something was wrong.
サトコ、何を混ぜた？塩やタバスコってわけじゃないだろ。
That feels too basic.
あら、ケイチさんが言ったんですのよ。手加減無用って。
Oh no.
私、こう見えても叩くときは徹底的に叩く性分でございますの。
It's laxative. She didn't go poison, right? It's like, I'm guessing it's a laxative. As she said that, she twirled about a dubious file in her fingers before putting it away smartly into her pouch.
さとこより理解。お客様が行きますわよ。エスコートお願いしますわ。
Yeah, I think it's like super laxative. Also, it actually makes me think of it. Satoko, she's like so poisonous, like she has a vial. Concoctions. She might be into chemistries and stuff, setting traps, right? So maybe she's the one that can synthesize whatever that like stuff was that we saw in the vial at the end of the last game.
僕にお任せなのです。
Come to think of it, I didn't see Rika-chan anywhere. Where could she be lurking? Clatter, clatter. Several men stood up suddenly from their seats, surveying the restaurant for something. The restless fidgeting, and that look of relief when they found a single placard hanging from the ceiling. Written on that placard was the word restroom. They all began a mad rush in that direction. It wasn't just one or two people. All the people that were branded as the enemy were standing up from their seats while clutching their stomachs. Oh, that's a clever though, because they've been eating a lot, so they might just blame it on their guts.
お手洗いは
僕もニャリーよ。オープンでなくクローズドの方でござる。
Yep.
ようリプレイ外しニャリー。
おトイレはどこにゃ？見つけたにゃ。緊急発進スクランブルにょ。
Felt dirty just thinking about what Satoko probably did to their desserts. The problem was how to follow this up. I was intrigued, so I followed the rest of the men to the washroom. The narrow hallway connecting the restrooms was crammed with about 10 men. Did she close it? As I peered over to see what was happening, whoa! It seemed that all the toilets were clogged and backflowing, and unleashing a loud gurgling sound and a terrible stench. There was no way to use it in this state. Darn that Satoko. What a frightening display of power. No, this wasn't Satoko's doing. It was divine punishment. Yeah, they were just unlucky. I'll just apologetically ask one of the employees here to clear it up.
これでは尿が出せぬでござる。
Yeah, it makes you wonder, how did she do that? That's kind of terrifying.
どうしたものにゃりんか？毎度し。
It was a brilliant combination of traps, but it would be better if there were one more push to the kicker. Seeing as it was Satoko, she wouldn't have overlooked that.
こうなっては最後の手段に
Oh no. Faced with a moral dilemma, the men only had one other option. Women's restroom.
さすがに女子トイレはまずいでござる
How brilliant. She's gonna be in there. Rika's gonna be in there. She'll give a cry, she'll blame them all, and they'll all get kicked out.
今日のお客さんに女子はいないにゃりん。コロンブスの卵でにゃりん。はあはあ、背に腹は変えられぬ。
How do you know that? What a brazen bunch they are. The men, sweat now pouring from their brows, made a mad rush to the girls' restroom without any hesitation. Here she comes.
Me?
Nope, she's just there. There was a girl there. It was Rika-chan. The men stood there frozen in various complicated poses, indicating their surprise. Rika-chan also seemed dumbfounded by their sudden turn of events. But the look on her face was strangely perfect. This is all part of the plan as well. You sly dog, Rika-chan. I should never underestimate you.
これはでござるな。まだ待て。
Mademoiselle.
Me?
男子便所がちょっとデンジャラスにゃので、ちょっとおトイレをお借りしたかっただけなのにゃ。にゃー。
Me?
でも、やっぱりいけないことでござるよな。どうし諸君
Just by having a girl stand in the restroom, I never knew it could put up such an overwhelming barrier. There was no way anyone could be brave enough to lift Rika-chan out of the way to try to do their business. This is the most they could do after all. If there were a man, if it were a man in a full club mode, for example, someone like me, they would plow through Rika without a second thought. Now what are you gonna do, you fatters? The price for tormenting Shion hasn't been paid.
お困りなら僕が助けてあげてもいいのです。
片付けどござる。してその方法は
お外のトイレを使えばいいのです。
Yep.
ご案内しますですよ。
それは助かるにゃ。さあ、このままじゃ集団で不根腕状態にゃりん。
Oh, gross. Rika-chan, with a pleasant smile on her face, guided them with a casual stride in her step. In this race against time, her slow pace was sadistic torture.
マドマーゼル、そのトイレはここから遠いでござるか。
すぐに着きますです。
Obeying Rika-chan's directions, they were about to leave the restaurant.
ケイチ君、締めだよ。ビシッと言ってね。
おうよ、任せておけ。
I spread my arms out and blocked them as they tried to leave the restaurant.
何の真似でござるか。このデフコン1のリザーチに。
悪人ども、この扉から一歩外へ出ることがどういうことになるか。
それはどういう意味にゃ。
ほら、チケットに書いてあるよ。途中退店無効って。どこのおトイレに行くのも自由でございますがね。その扉を一歩でも外へ出たなら二度と戻れませんのよ。
Boom. Sorry, I clicked early again. I keep doing that, but I wanna go.
覚えてろ。
You'll remember this?
そんな怖いこと言う人たちを案内したくないのです。
Everybody panicked as Rika-chan began to turn back. They could only figuratively and literally fall in line. All the waitresses also lined up to see them off.
本日はご来店。
I shall return.
Not today. Clang, clang. The bell rang playfully as the door shut behind them.
すまないですわね。楽勝の極みでしたよ。やったね。
Greta and Satoko clapped their hands together.
ひゅー、俺一人じゃ歯が立たねえ連中もメンバー総登場ならまさに一網打尽だな。
この程度の相手なら私たちなら一人でもお相手できましたよ。ケイチさんも少しは腕をお磨き遊ばせ。
I was loath to admit it, but Satoko was right. Dang it. One day I'll be strong enough to be worthy to stand amongst them.
でもみーちゃんの妹さんを守れて本当によかったね。もうこれでいたずらする悪い人たちは一人もいなくなったよ。
Exactly.
素敵な友人に恵まれたわね、園崎さん。
The veteran waitress was also smiling. After the herd was sent packing, it had calmed down completely inside the restaurant. Shion was flustered. She glanced between us and the now empty seats.
私のためにその
Shion's expression was somewhat between happy and guilt-ridden. Her face had turned slightly red as she ran into the kitchen.
わあ、しーちゃんもかわいい。双子なんだね。はう。
Given Shion's personality, there's no way she'd take us directly. We might have been a bit excessive in our means, but I'm really glad we were able to save her.
分かってると思いますけど、園崎さん、とても感謝してますよ。私もホールを代表して感謝いたします。
Clap, clap, clap. The applause quickly spread throughout the entire restaurant. Not only were the other waitresses, but the other customers were genuinely there to enjoy the desserts, and everyone was lauding our efforts. Thank goodness. When we had mostly finished eating and were filling out our survey, Rika-chan made her return.
おお、お疲れ。守備は上々か？ずいぶん遅かったな。
ごめんなさいなのです。帰りに迷子になってしまって大変だったのです。
Aww.
リカちゃんは変な道を通ることが多いからね。よく迷子になるんだよ。
Okay. So she goes down strange roads and gets lost often. How does she get lost just guiding people to a nearby toilet?
人間誰にも得て増えてがありましたよ。リカにはそんなの負けないような長所がたくさんありますわ。
Oh, okay.
それもそうだな。さっきの女子トイレのあの表情、役者だったな。
Yeah.
あの時のケイイチはひどいのです。自分が彼らの立場だったら、僕を弾き飛ばして女子トイレに飛び込むとか考えていたのです。
Are his thoughts just stamped on his forehead?
また俺、考えが顔に出てたのか。
ケイイチくん、エッチなんだ。
いや、その、
that laugh. Oh, man. I could laugh about it then, but a few days later, a newspaper headline read 10 unidentified men were taken into custody in Hidayama. The men claimed they had traveled from Shishibone City by foot to find a toilet, but the spot they were taken into custody was XX kilometers away from Shishibone. When I read the article, I realized how terrifying Rika-chan really was. How'd she do that?
さてと、ごちそうさまなのでした。今日は呼んでもらえて嬉しかったのです。あら、もう帰りますの？もうちょっとゆっくりしても。タンスのお片付けの途中だったのですよ。あのままではお布団が敷けないのです。ああ、それもそうですわね。
Oops, looks like I called her at a bad time.
レナが電話した時はお部屋の片付け中だったんだよ。でも駆けつけてくれたんだよね。
Thank you.
まあ、非常時だから仕方ありませんわ。それに、甘いものをいっぱいいっぱい食べさせてもらいましたですから。
今日はありがとな。急に呼び出しちゃって。
シオンによろしくとお伝えなのです。では失礼しますわ。レナさんはどうぞごゆっくり。そうするね。じゃあね。
Bye bye. Rika-chan and Satsuko are in a good mood, horse around with each other as they left. Very fun. Now how do we get to the second half of this? The music's lovely. While Ren and I were having a discussion about dessert we just ate, Shion arrived with some coffee.
あら、ちっちゃい二人は帰っちゃいましたか？
Hearing them called little ones was so strange, I inadvertently burst out laughing.
なんか片付けの途中だったとかで帰っちゃったよ。
Shion had brought enough coffee for 4 people.
先輩に話を聞きました。なんだか私のためにいろいろご迷惑をかけてしまったみたいで。全然迷惑じゃないよ。他ならぬしーちゃんのピンチだしね。
Aww.
いいよね、しーちゃんで。みーちゃんとお揃いでかいいかなって。まあ、どうぞご自由に。
Shion seemed a bit hesitant when Rena started talking to her. Rena's pretty sharp about some things, so Shion was probably worried that Rena would find out that she was Mion after talking like this. Shion said she'd have work soon and hurried off back to the kitchen, leaving behind coffee for just the two of us.
レナにそっけなかった。慣れ慣れしい子だと思われちゃったかな。ふう。
照れてるだけだよ。
でも本当にそっくりだね。双子ってよりも、もう一人のみーちゃんみたいな感じ。
外見は似てるけど、雰囲気っていうか、中身は全然違うだろ。そういう双子も面白いと思うけどな。
ケイチ君はそう思う？中身もそっくりだと思うよ。
Interesting. It somehow became silent. Rena was just staring at the pattern the milk made on the surface of her coffee without saying a word. It's creepy Rena again, isn't it? For somebody like me who could never stop talking, it was a rather uncomfortable moment. Rena's output mannerism seemed to imply I said something I shouldn't have. That unpleasantness carried on for a little while. It's because it's a lie. Like, she knows it's a lie, and he knows it's a lie. He's still lying to her, and she doesn't like that.
レナさ、今日言ってたろ。ミオンが傷つけられたなんて話。
そんな話したかな？
だからとぼけるなよ。確かに言ったよ。今日の学校からの帰り道で。
Rena answered by laughing while continuing to play dumb, questioning if she said that. Thick-headed as I was, I had a faint realization. Rena wanted to say that I was the one who hurt Mion. But when? Me?
もし仮にそういうことがあったとしても、それは俺には悪意はなかったんだよ。
I continued the conversation, but left out the assumption that I had hurt Mion.
うん、きっとそうだと思う。ケイチ君に悪気はなかったと思うな。
So he's like finally clued in. She's like, yep. Rena replied, also leaving out the assumption that I had hurt Mion. But that confirmed it. I don't know how it happened, but it seemed I had hurt Mion. And Rena was upset with me due to the fact that I hadn't realized it.
誤解しないでほしいんだけど、別にレナは怒ってるわけじゃないよ。
Seeing right through what I was thinking, Rena said that as she smiled even more gently than usual.
ただなんていうのかな。難しいなって。
俺に落ち度があるなら、はっきりそうだと言ってくれないか。俺は自分でも呆れるほど鈍感なんだ。
Bro, you are, but I honestly, like, I think I am too. It's like I've complained before about like how dense and idiotic main characters can be, but the thing is that maybe part of the reason why they are and why it tends to resonate is because, at least me, I think I am too, just in my own way. Some things I feel like I see like they're blatantly obvious, but then I think about it, I'm like, nah, I'm pretty stupid too.
謝るべきことがあるなら、少しでも早くそれに気づいて謝罪したいと思ってる。
別にケイチ君に落ち度なんかなかったと思うよ。
Yeah, it's not about making a mistake. It's about realizing that your feelings aren't going to be reciprocated, kind of a thing.
考えようによっては、ずるいのはみーちゃんの方なのかもしれないし、ずるいのが女の子だって居直るのも、またずるい気がするし。
Right, so it's just confusing. What Rena said was draped in mystery, and fortunately I had no idea what she meant. The only thing I got out of it was that I had said or done something inadvertently hurt Mion.
頼むよ、レナ。ミオンは俺の最高の仲間の一人だ。遺恨を残してなんか付き合いたくない。だから教えてくれよ。俺は何を傷つけてしまったんだ？
ダメだよ。
Yeah, she really can't. It's unfortunately something that even if it were spelled out, wouldn't change anything.
こういうのは自分で気づかなきゃ。
Rena was smiling like she always did, but spoke bluntly. The fact that she had the strength of will surprised me for a moment.
それに気づけないから、こうして頼んでるんだろ。
My tone had unintentionally become harsh. Rena was also surprised for a moment, but quickly returned to her flat demeanor.
じゃあヒントだけならいいかな。特別なんだよ。
Okay.
すまん、頼む。ちゃんと考えるから。
Rena looked around the restaurant searching for Shion. Shion was working enthusiastically, but without confidence as usual.
しーちゃん、髪の毛を上げて結んだら、みーちゃんと見分けつかなくなるんだろうね。
うん、そうだな。
じゃあさ、みーちゃんが髪をほどいたら、やっぱりしーちゃんと見分けがつかなくなるのかな。
多分な。でも、それとこれと何の関係があるんだよ。
もしもだよ、双子の妹なんて話は嘘で、 あれは妹のふりをしてるみーちゃんだったら。
Well, that's not really a hint. We knew that. Rena was sharper than her daily behavior belied. She was hesitant in verbally affirming that, but it was the right answer.
質問に質問で返すようで悪いけどさ、レナの言う通り、ミオンがシオンのふりをしていたとして、それは何のためだよ。
After maintaining the silence for a while, Rena glanced at the clock.
そこを考えてほしいな。
Yeah, think about it. Why would she do that? What's the purpose? What's the meaning of it?
ヒントにしては多すぎかも。はあ、
After thanking me for dessert, Rena stood up from her seat.
ごめんね。頼まれてるお買い物があるからそろそろ帰るね。しーちゃんには挨拶もせずに先に帰っちゃってごめんって伝えておいてもらえるかな。
ああ、伝えておく。
ごめんね。
え？
レナって怒りんぼなの。怒ってごめんね。ケイチくんだけが悪いわけでもないのに。
Rena was harsh in her apology, but I was the one who really should have apologized.
みーちゃんだってもうそんなに気にしてないことだと思うの。だからなかったことにして忘れちゃってもいいと思うんだけど、でもね、同じ女の子としてはケイチくんに自分で気づいて、自分で謝りに来てほしいなって夢を見ちゃうの。
So Mion felt like he couldn't see her like in a more like, you know, close way unless she was pretending to be somebody else, and that hurt her. And it kind of put her in this weird spot where she really enjoys interacting with him as Shion, but it's like, it's not the same, and it kind of hurts at the same time. Because she's like, if I drop the facade, if I'm just being me, or at least the me I feel like I should be, he'll never see me this way. And that sucks. That really sucks. But Rena's pointing out, like, hey, look, if you just pretend nothing happened and just kind of move forward, like, she's probably going to be fine. Like, she's stabilized enough. Dang.
Huh?
Switching to cute mode, only at the end, she disappeared in the direction of the register. While I was staring into space, somebody suddenly tapped me on the shoulder.
お待たせしました。やっと終わりました。
It was Shion, who changed into her street clothes. She flashed a smile while greeting me.
今日は本当にありがとな。どれもすごい美味しかった。みんなも喜んでたよ。
いえいえ、そんな。でも、喜んでもらえて嬉しかったです。あれ？さっきの女の人も帰っちゃったんですか？
買い物があるって言って帰ったよ。先に帰って申し訳ないって伝えておいてくれって。
そうですか。じゃあ、私たちも表に行きません？たとえオフでも、バイト先は緊張しちゃいますから。
We ended up strolling around without any destination in particular. It had been sitting in the entire time, so I was in need of a breath of fresh air. Alright. It's a bit of a gamble, but we've been recording for a while. I think I might break this one up because we still have, I'm guessing, a decent conversation and kind of a date with Shion. I don't imagine it's going to go super quickly. And then we also will have whatever tips are going to be the end of this. So I think we'll pause here. It may not be the best. Again, going into these games blind means I don't know. I don't always make the best break points, but I feel like this is a good one because it means that, well, the next episode will be able to kind of focus on the date and the tips afterwards, and that should be fine. Some episodes, like in the first game, were like this, where breaking them in half was a pretty good option, so I think the first phase of the desserts and the challenges there is a good one, and then now we'll have this interaction with Shion/Mion and see how this all pans out. So, thank you so much for being here today. I'm very happy to be a part of this and that you got to join me for it. It's a good episode to record and just kind of to hear your thoughts of from last week's episode too. It's just been really fun. I'm very interested to see how this is all going to plan out. I still think it's pretty clear to me that Mion has feelings for him, but feels rejected. And we're kind of seeing a manifestation of that. And that's really interesting because I'm not sure where it's going to go from here and how it's going to tie in. And I mentioned last time, I was like, so did the creator like think of all these different like branching narratives beforehand? And someone said that like during interviews, I guess it was like kind of yes and kind of no. Like there's certain things that were like definitely well thought out and like were part of this narrative that were implied in the first chapter, but that subsequent chapters are often reflective of the feedback that they received from the first few chapters. So like someone would read the first chapter and they talked about it, had these conversations, and then that kind of fed into giving some inspiration for what would become chapter 2, where it likely has a core of stuff that is absolutely like has been planned out, but then like the details have like been touched up based on the feedback that they received from the community, which is kind of cool. It's like writing a book piecemeal wise and getting input to help you write the rest of the book as you go. That's a really interesting, and I don't think there's many stories that type of setup could work with, and that's pretty cool to see. So while it's odd, I'm definitely impressed and happy to see this pan out and to kind of see where it's going to go from here. So I think that's enough for today. Thank you so much for joining me, and hopefully you enjoyed this episode. And I also hope that next week's episode won't be disappointing or like too short or just feel kind of clunky if like I got the timings wrong, but we'll deal with that when we get to it. I appreciate you spending your time with me, and that I hope you enjoyed watching this with me and kind of seeing my reactions, engaging my thoughts. I look forward to reading what you think of this, and also maybe hearing what you think of like some of the comments I made. It's kind of weird too, because like I talk about like, oh, I was a geek, but I wasn't like a super geek. It's like, the thing is like, I feel like I was a super geek, but I also knew how to just, I don't know, have baseline conversations and like function in society. But it feels like these are the examples are just the people who are just so far removed. It just doesn't feel real. Like it does. It's like, how can someone actually like live like that? But I think I might have come across a little harsh, mostly because like the emotion of how frustrating and gross that whole scene was, where like imagining it happening to real people and that it could have been happening to real people and real events like that, that's a thing that could actually happen, maybe like genuinely kind of upset. But upon reflecting after that, I got to thinking, I was like, it's not very fair, because just because I don't see it that way or can't understand it properly doesn't mean it isn't based in reality. And like there's enough stories online that it makes me think that there are people like that in the real world. And the problem is that we can easily kind of villainize them, when you got to remember that most likely these are just people who just aren't sure what else to do with their lives, who, I don't know, maybe never had a good example set for them, or just kind of ingrained some really unhealthy behaviors when they were young, and they never got like straightened out, or they got so like I often think that a lot of that attitude comes from self-isolating, from living it like perpetually online, and like seeing fictional worlds as being more meaningful than the real world. And you just kind of enclose yourself more and more into an echo chamber. And then you find other like-minded people, so you feel like you're socializing, but you're really just talking to other people who are also in the same position, rather than learning other perspectives and things. And I can see that, because I see that happening in different other communities that might be more socially like adept, but also still that echo chamber of like a collapsing worldview where everything either fits in there or is just like wrong and is like outside. And that's such a dangerous place to be. And it doesn't have to be an otaku. It could be anything, really. It's just scary, because like it's human, and it's too human, and it happens more often than we like to think. So just kind of wanted to throw that out there to be like, look, I was kind of ragging on it before, but you got to remember, like, this is a slice, and it's a fictional slice, but it echoes reality. And just because you're not an otaku and you don't obsess over fantasy stuff or act really creepy around girls doesn't mean that your worldview hasn't become isolated and problematic. There are reasons and places and situations where that still happens, and you can still feel, for all intents and purposes, like a normal person. And so we should always be reflecting and always be questioning our own like points of view and the voices that we hear. And even if people are saying things that we agree with or things that seem in line with what we like, we should always take that pause moment and be like, hey, hang on, let's reflect. Like, what if there's more to it than this? What if there's deeper levels than this? What if I'm wrong and there's truth out there I haven't come across yet? That's the attitudes that can lead us towards real peace and light and understanding inclusion and being able to recognize that just because people are different and don't think the same way we do, that they still have value as a human being. So anyway, enough of that. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much for joining me on the channel, for being a part of this wonderful journey as we march steadily closer and closer towards the horror that we can already see is leaking through in bits and pieces. It's gonna get bad. We all know it will, but for now, let's enjoy it while we're here. So thank you. And until next video, watching me, see me next. I'll see you there.